Bros, and welcome to the channel. Welcome back to Final Cut, the podcast dedicated to giving videos and behind the scenes scoops, their final cut. In today's video, we're going to be talking about Big Buck, one of the most recent races that we've done on our channel, the GNCC circuit. And I want to get your perspective on it. I know Andrew and I are going to be talking about it here in a little bit. So I guess first and foremost, what are your thoughts on it? Do you think you did better from the couple races you've done? I know that we've done the one that was at Carolina Adventure World, and then we did the Mountaineer race.
Well, yeah, the one at Carolina Adventure World was, it was interesting. That was the very first one that I run in, and it was interesting. It rained, and it was. If anybody's ever been to Carolina Adventure World, when it rains, it's really, really slick mud, and I was too gung ho, to say the least. I mean, it was wet, and I was hammered down everywhere I went, and every time I went into a turn, it did not go well. It went straight. It did not turn. It just would not. And I, for the first lap, I was like giving it everything I could, and didn't have the right tires, and that was obvious right off the jump. And it was like glass. And every time I went into a turn, I just about flipped the four wheeler over, slide into a berm, and it just about throwed me off every single turn. So after about the seventh time that I got slung off of it, I said, "Screw this." So I slowed down, and then next thing I know, I was going down that hill and took out my tie rod because there was no stopping.
So I guess the tires made a difference for this one.
Oh my God, yes. Tires and shocks makes a world of difference. As well as we purchased that used four wheeler. I think we got it for $130 some. Other Suzuki that we bought that was a little newer.
Yeah, the other frame.
Yeah, the other frame. And the only reason we got it was basically just for the shocks itself, because it had the new reservoir shocks that have made a big difference. They're still not adjusted quite like we want them, but I think we're going. But they're good for trail riding. Racing, it made a difference at Big Buck. It made a real big difference, in my opinion. The first time we put them on, we took them to Mountaineer. It was really sweet at the Mountaineer race. But Big Buck, I pushed myself. Well, I mean, I jumped off the line, took off right ahead of you, and I thought there was more people behind us, but evidently there wasn't. So I just basically was trying to give you something to run towards, to keep up or whatever. And what, 2-3 miles in,
I think
on top of that hill.
Yeah, towards mile marker three
Yeah.
or four.
So at the top of the hill, when I stopped, the only reason I did is because I forgot I had my dip in. And I couldn't swallow anything. Everything was like dry. My mouth was like, I had cotton mouth like crazy. So I had to stop, spit my dip out because I forgot about it being in, and got some water. And by that time, I mean, it felt like a couple seconds, and I looked up and you were gone. I mean, literally gone, just disappeared. I was like, "Holy crap!" So I pushed myself a little bit to try to run, because every time I seen somebody ahead of us, I thought it was you, and it wasn't, but it was always somebody. So I kept pushing myself, and I was like, "Okay, I can do this," and I can do this. And then I got to the point where I finally caught up with you, and then when I passed you, I said, "All right, let's go." So I took off, and I just stayed comfortable. And I seen that other dude, that 4x4 that was in the trail riders class, what was it, 16 to 24, and then you and I were in the 25 and older class.
The one that was before us.
Yes, and he was having carburetor problems when we passed him this first time.
Yeah, it sounded like the whole thing was falling apart.
Yeah,
but you could hear it.
My Lord! But when I caught up with him, I couldn't keep up with him. I mean, it was like he was pushing for a 4x4. He was actually doing really good.
Yeah.
And I mean, we were putting down. I mean, I thought we were doing pretty well, and then the 4x4 pros came,
Mm.
and I pulled over because I could hear them coming. So I pulled over, and I never seen that guy again. I lost sight of him, and then I went by. I went through the checker flag. I mean, I went through the yellow flag, and then was started my technically second lap, and I and when I got back about where I passed you
Yeah.
on the first lap, I got back to that point, and I was like I pushed myself so much that my bladder was about to kill me. So I got off and went over there, found a tree, and peed, took my helmet off, and waited on you because I was waiting on you to catch up because I said you can't be that far behind me.
Yeah.
So I sat there for about, it must have been 15 minutes or 20 minutes. Got me a drink of water, just sit around, put me another dip in, just sat right down on the four wheeler, was looking around. The track people came by and they said, "Are you good?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm just taking a break." So I just sat there for about 20 minutes. And so, I mean, and then I got back on. I said, "Well, to be sure, either you stopped or something went wrong." So I was like, "Well, I'll find him eventually." So
Yeah.
once I came through when I came through the yellow flag, and well, got no. After I came back around. They gave me the white flag. I said, "Okay, well, I can do this." So I pushed it, and I said, "Well, you either at the trailer or you on the track somewhere." So I went ahead and put it down a little harder, and I said, "Okay." So I kept running, and when I got to the trailer, you were there, and I was like, "Okay, well, it's only one lap, so I can do this." Just so I went ahead and started pushing, and it was fun. I mean, I enjoyed it. It was the adrenaline, just running hard and going over things, and I still got out the way. I mean, the only thing that made me nervous about the race, and it still makes me nervous. I don't know why, but it does every time I do. Is when I'm hearing people coming behind me, because I want to get out their way because I don't want to slow them down. But I mean, even the guys that I mean, this time, Mountaineer was crazy. Okay, so but this one, I mean, Mountaineer, there was hardly any place to pull off. There was a lot of areas that you could move over, but it wasn't like this. I mean, there was a lot of trees that you had to get around. Um, but there's a lot more places to pull over for all the other riders. But surprisingly, Brandon only passed me once, so I felt like I did a really good job keeping a decent pace because I didn't get passed that often. But it was still the leaders of the other of the races that started before us. So I mean, I probably got passed by maybe 60 people, but compared to the 200 that was in the class, I mean, the classes that we were in, I didn't think I was doing that bad. And the other 4x4s that we run against that's in the same classes or same races we are, the guy from Philly,
Mm-hmm.
I never seen him. You know what I mean? So, and he never passed us, so I felt like I was doing pretty well. You know what I mean?
I don't think I saw him at all. Even when I pulled off, like he has a very unique Can-Am, and I don't think I saw him. I don't know if he had an issue or if he
No,
just
he
did.
won the race.
Oh,
I
so
went back and watched his race. He won the race.
well, I'm not sure why I didn't see him then. That's weird. To be fair, with the races like that as a whole, it's just this big clockwise rotation, and
Nonstop.
it's crazy how you can be so close but yet so far from people.
Yes.
Like,
So the ones that don't know, when you start, all right. So we took off in trail riders class.
mm,
Andrew moved up in the 19C class. So he was what, about 15th last? No. We were 17th.
no, he
So
was like 6 rows ahead of us.
he was around ninth. He's probably the ninth row blasting off.
Yeah, he
So
was. I think he was like two below where Isaiah blasted off too, if I'm not
yeah,
mistaken.
and Isaiah did. He was that dude was that little kid was flying. Dude.
His
Oh my Lord! He passed me on the back on the second lap back on the down past us on mile marker 3 about where I stopped the first time, and he just he it's almost like he was laughing. You know what I mean? He didn't take his didn't take his hands off handlebars, but it sounded like he was laughing. He was coming by. You know, and just he nodded and kept right on getting it. So I was like, cool. And then I tried to push. I pushed, and he just drove off. So shocks makes a world of difference.
Well,
Tires makes a world of difference.
when he came around just before his last lap, like before everyone went through, I saw him, and I think he saw me as well. Because as soon as he came around the corner, he barely tipped it just a hair, just enough for you to see it. And I looked at him and I was like, "You keep it together." And he kept driving by, and that was funny. I don't think he heard me though,
Probably not.
but it wouldn't have mattered. He was cooking anyway.
He was. But I mean, and Andrew, and I never seen Andrew on the track.
No,
So typically, if he run trail rider, and I ran the 50-year-old class when the first race at Camp Coker, he ended up catching me. But I did take my time there.
he had to have been like there had to have been a 30. It felt like a 30-minute gap between you and
Everybody,
him.
everybody, everywhere.
Because when he came by and I hit him with the 5-gallon one, and I filled it up and he took off, I sat there for forever. Looked like everybody that was wearing yellow. Looked like you coming by, and I was like, where the devil did he go?" And that had to have been the lap where you stopped, because that was the second one.
Yeah.
Your second. But no, I called mine just as a just because, it was one of those turns that there was a couple different paths, and it was just this like mediocre lip. There was nothing wrong with it, and I just, as I was trying to go up it, I just lost the ability to use the throttle. I pinned it, and whenever I pinned it, I realized what was going to happen, so I just pulled in the clutch and just slid off the side. I was like, I got to call it, because like if that would have, I would have like just shot straight into it.
Yeah.
Which would have been bad, not only for me but also for the bike too. And with the other one being broke at the time,
Yeah.
it just didn't seem worth it.
Watching your video, I seen that where it was on your first lap, but it was like almost, there was two sections of groups of trees that you could go through, and you went through one, and it was a sort of a steep. It's a steep incline, but not. It's 3-foot steep incline, and the awkward angle makes a world of difference.
Yeah, I don't know why, I couldn't get it to go the way I wanted it to, and I was going slow at the time, thankfully, but I just kind of figured it wasn't wise to continue, because by the time I got back to that same point, there's no telling what would have happened.
It never changed. The track never. It wasn't as bad as that as I thought it was going to be worse, but it wasn't. It was actually pretty well.
A large majority of the stuff, like obstacles wise, that get really bad are the roots, because once you take off the first layer of all that stuff there, it's just super slick. You just have to watch it.
You did see a lot more roots, in the back part of the forest versus where we were.
You dig it out.
Yeah,
pretty bad.
Yeah, you did see a lot of those, but it wasn't that bad though. I mean, I didn't think it was that bad, but I mean, like I said, I pushed, but tires, like we started this. Tires and shocks makes a world of difference.
You think the 23s made a difference? Like, could you tell anything different? Because I know that's a big jump going from like a size 20, 21.
Yeah, the 21s to 23. It did. And I'll be honest with you. After, like, when we go to Camp Coker, because of the sand, I think I'll run to 23s. Take them off to 450 and put them back on mine.
Well, I don't plan on running that one, so that works out.
But I mean, the 450 is definitely better with the 23s in my opinion, because it gives it a little bit of nose up.
Like levels it out.
Yes, it makes it level. So, and on mine it's a little high, but the ruts at Camp Coker coming up and all that sand and stuff, I think the 23s will be fine.
Now, this is completely speculative, but I watched that guy that we were talking about, Philly LS1. I watched his race at his Florida race. I don't know if you got a chance to see that or not, but that race looks like it'll be the same thing with the ruts and sand.
He was like fourth, took off fifth, and the leaders right above him got hung up behind our lap rider, or in a position to where a guy got stuck, and they all pinned up. So he drove around them, and it wasn't but maybe
10 minutes in after that.
Shortly after that, he did the exact same thing. He
everyone
fell
just
in
drove by.
and and all of his guys that he passed would just drove right around him. And I was like, well, it happens that quick.
But it the reason why I brought that up is because I feel like Camp Coker can be the same way. If it rains, you're really at the mercy of whatever the tires decide to do, and if you can get a good set of front tires, it'll take you the way you want to go.
I think so. I mean, the sand makes a big difference. So if we were in Florida, if we'd have went to Florida, the 23s would have helped.
Also, it was crazy to see how black that mud is. Like that
Oh,
was like dark.
well, I mean, it's like being here on the farm, and there's some places that's clay and some places that's really muddy, black mud, and all it is the soil. And there, it all in that pine tree grove that they had there was nothing but black sand, almost like black sand,
It looked
black
like a
topsoil.
swamp.
Yeah, and the more they rode through it, the worse it got. It was just churning up mud. I mean, black mud, and everybody came out all one color. They might have started out multicolored, but it came in with one color, black.
It'd be crazy to see. Like I know that most of the pros run like really like bright colors for that same reason. I wanted
Not
to go
that
back and
weekend.
I wanted to go back and see
Did you
what their
see?
jerseys look like.
Did you see Brandon's race?
Oh hey, that's really ironic. That's the first time I've ever had that. Someone subscribed while we were doing the while we were recording the podcast.
I was wondering what that thing was. I said, I know we ain't got no doorbells on this thing. So I was like, well, okay.
That's funny. I'm glad that works. So if we ever do this live,
Yeah.
it'll do the same thing.
So Brandon had yellow and white jersey.
Yeah.
And when he got done, it looked like tan in the back and black in the front. I was like, holy crap. Because the yellow and the mud turned it like a tan color in the back. So it's funny looking.
It almost looked like that on that color palette, like a whiskey brown.
Yes.
That's pretty
exactly.
much what it looked like.
Khaki is what I looked at.
Yeah, whitewashed, but like for the brown style.
Yep. But yeah, so Big Buck was fun. I enjoyed it. I had a ball. The 23s worked good. I probably could have done up there. The ground's hard, but the 23s kept me through the ruts pretty well. I'm curious to see what the 21s would have done, but comparing the two, since my tires were on your 450 at Kyle's, I didn't have no other option.
Well, we could have taken the ones off of the Honda.
Yeah,
because those front tires are the same. Actually, speaking of that, those are actually your original tires.
Yes, I know. I thought about that, but we didn't. But at the
Swap
time,
out
I
the
was like,
rims.
well, we would just figure out we'd just run those and just get a grasp to see what it would actually do.
Now, I know that one of the big things that we do after a race is we like figure out what we can do different. Do you have anything that you could think of, like off the
Yes.
top of your head?
I'm doing it currently as we speak. Since then, I joined a gym because I'm telling you, after Big Buck, I couldn't hardly walk for a week. I pushed myself to the point where my legs, Friday following the race, my legs still wanted to lock up on me. But since then, I've joined the gym and I've worked that soreness out and created more soreness in my upper body. So that's one reason I want to run Camp Coker this year, is to see if I'll have a little bit more stamina, and I'm going to push because I enjoyed it. And I did learn something at Big Buck. The harder you run, it doesn't, you would think it would make it worse, but it doesn't. It actually makes it smoother. If that makes any sense. It's like you're bouncing over things
Like
instead
momentum.
of just riding over it or whatever.
Yeah.
It's actually a smoother ride by pushing it harder. Like Mountaineer race, I didn't push. I just had fun. Because I always wanted to. I told you the very first time we ever went to Mountaineer, if I ever got the chance to do it, I'm going back to ride. So I did, and the riding in the foothills of West Virginia was like something unique to me to do. It wasn't that bad. The track wasn't bad.
No.
It was just a lot of uphill, downhill. The rocks were a little crazy, especially that rock garden that they had at Mountaineer. That was nuts.
Well, I made your second lap difficult because you couldn't get past me where I was sitting.
Well, yeah, but that's okay. I mean, but at the time, at the same time, the tires that we had from, I took your old tires and put them on mine, because we bought you new tires to go for you to start upgrading yours. So I had your old tires, and they're not bald like the other ones we had,
Mm-mm.
but there was definitely not enough meat to handle the rocks there because it didn't matter what you did. I mean,
You still
they were
slid.
just slick.
Yeah.
I mean, you hit the gas and the joker just about turned sideways on a cotton picking rock.
I don't think I had that problem there.
No, you had the brand new tires. I mean, you should have been fine.
Well, that and also I took a different line each time. Like the first time I went straight. The only reason why I went down, honestly, what I should have done is I should have pulled over where I went the first time and just sat behind those lap people because that would have given me enough time for my arms to go down before I could go again. But I was interested in trying to keep a good time because I wasn't planning on stopping. But as soon as I stopped and I realized what was wrong and all that junk, it just kind of was like, you know, it that was when the shoulda, wouldas, and couldas come in, like all the stuff that you
Yeah.
wish you could have done.
Well, like I told you before, I mean, racing to you is like playing golf. The only one you competing against is basically yourself. And the only reason why I keep pushing you to do it is just because you need to do something. And it's a monotonous that breaks up the monotonous of a day to day deal.
Yeah,
And and racing. I mean, I'm when I go back, I'm going back into the 50-year-old class. So I'm going to try to see if I can keep up with them. Now they're all on 450s. I don't know how. I mean, the last time I was at Camp Coker, they ran off and left me.
yeah,
So,
but I mean that shouldn't make too much of a difference now because a large majority of that was you just taking your time and then
well, see, the difference at Camp Coker this year versus last year was,
shocks.
well, the shocks. I got shocks for it. I'm gonna have tires for it, and I'm working on my upper body to try to be able to push it and hang on more
Yeah,
better.
I would
And
argue that you were like twice as prepared than you were for that one. That was more
yes,
like a gung ho, might as well kind of thing.
yes, and it's the closest one to it. So that's one reason I wanted to run. But
Now,
yeah,
I probably should run that, but there's some stuff in the works that we can't really talk about on here that kind of prevent me from doing that just because I want to make sure that I have some stuff prepared for that. Now, one thing that I've noticed about like me racing is that I don't really get as sore, which is really confusing because my weight has gone up a lot. Like I've got a lot heavier since when we first started recording, and that has a lot to do with school and me taking more time to be at the house and do stuff like that, less activities.
definitely less activities because all you do right now is record. And you sit behind a desk
Just this.
and either working on schoolwork or working on videos or whatever. You not really. I mean, we have to almost fight you to get outside to hit the rides. So
And that's how it's been recently. Plus, it's been pouring rain. But
it's definitely been wet.
I really didn't feel sore though, if that makes any sense. Like the only issue I had was in the moment, which was arm pump at the time. And honestly, that didn't start. And I this may sound really stupid, and I'm not trying to push a blame, but I think that those little like slide on things, the hand mittens, that the first time I wore those, we were at Carolina Adventure World, and then the
No,
Mountaineer race.
no, we took them. The first time I got them was Camp Coker last year. Got them for that race.
Yeah, yeah, because it was a sandy, hot,
Yeah,
and slightly wet race.
I bought them for Camp Coker.
Yeah, but I got high sided, so I never got a chance to push to see. But after that, the Mountaineer race, and then this past race has been whenever I've had a problem. Andrew and I have both been thinking that that might be a start of the problem, the
Well,
circulation
I'm
in the
I'm
hands.
liking I like what Brewer said to us when we got a chance to ride with him.
The grips.
The grips makes a difference, and with having those extra pads in there. Now, for me, typically I got to remove my ring every time we go somewhere, my wedding ring.
I didn't think about that. With you
But
being diabetic, that probably would make a huge difference for you.
yeah, well, I have to remove my wedding ring when we're actually there racing or whatever. but the pad, it that protects my ring to where it's not pinching me. Like if I wear my regular gloves at Carolina Adventure World, it pinches me all the time and aggravates the crap out of me with the ring. So I just need to take it off and leave it in the camp in the trailer and take
Now,
the things off because our handlebar grips are thicker.
yeah,
Now the ones on the Honda are smoother
those are thin.
and thinner, and you could probably get a by with the padding on that. But then again, who knows? It may or may not work. But I'd like to try another set of grips just to try a smoother set.
Because I was thinking about that because one of the key problems was that like around my fingers, like little at the base of them,
Because it's cutting off the blood
they
circulation.
were purple. So I didn't know if that was the problem.
It probably is.
Now, if I when I take those off and I run that,
Mhm.
it my hands are gonna be bloody because the last race that I ran like for the full 2 hours and like really pushed, my hands were that way.
Mhm.
Like I had like patches where the skin had come off and I was sitting there bleeding the entire time, which honestly isn't that big of an
Well,
ordeal.
all that is grip. You gripping the handlebars too tight. I mean, you're fine.
I had the same thing at Carolina Adventure Road too because I
Mhm.
ran like close to 5 laps there, but it was a shorter race. Um,
Yeah, and it was nothing but mud. So all you had to do was just outlast the rest of us.
which honestly, I did the best at that one just
Well,
because of
yeah,
that reason.
because you didn't push. I mean, you.
No, I just kept sliding.
Yeah, well, everybody did. But the harder you pushed, the more you slid. So, and I guarantee that was it.
Just kept it in second and just kept rolling.
Yeah, that's all you could do.
But
You look like a pig in mud that day. Oh my God, that was so funny. If anybody's ever seen them pictures, please go check that out because that was hilarious. Did you have video of that? No, you don't have video of that.
yeah, I do. Yeah, we have
Do you
cause
have pictures of you actually afterwards
yeah,
before you took all your gear off?
yeah, I have a video of it. Andrew hit the camera off his fooler
Oh
as
my
I as
God,
I,
that was
as I
hilarious.
pulled in.
That was so funny.
You couldn't even see me. All you could see was my eyes, and that was it.
I'm telling you, y'all need to keep your goggles on.
Well, the only reason why I take them off is because I didn't realize that my eyesight, because of the polarized ones, I see more shadows and second guess myself. But now that we have the other ones that I've been using that work really well, by the way, I didn't have an issue.
The orange ones,
Yeah,
orange lens.
it's a
Yeah.
little bit easier to see because it still looks like I'm looking through. Like this is gonna sound stupid, but sounds like it's easy to see. And whenever I look through stuff that looks like I'm just looking through my eyes, it's not a problem.
Mhm.
So clear works good, but with the orange hue, it helps my eyes with the sunlight.
It brightens everything up.
Yeah, it's easier to see.
I figured it would be, so that's why I got two sets of lenses.
And also, I do plan on joining you at the gym, but if you can figure out a nighttime, that would work a little bit
I
better.
gotta join the gym first, and I gotta call Brandy and get get her get signed up for that. Brandon told me to hold off and just keep working, and then I then get it. So once I get it, then we can do it in the afternoons as well.
Well, I plan on covering your AMA, so if you'll hook that up for me, then we can both continue moving stuff forward.
Oh yeah, we're definitely gonna do that. Because I
Because
mean, I gotta get my AMA license. I gotta renew those, get those, so I can at least run Camp Coker.
I would love to go in the mornings, but because I stay up late to work on school
Hmm.
projects and stuff, it's just hard to it's hard to get up at like six
Well, I don't
something.
have a problem going in the afternoons. I just can't push myself in the afternoons because I'm pushing myself in the morning. I mean, 15 pounds of weight, the way Brandon does it ain't no joke.
Well, you're supposed to do lighter reps, more repetitions to be able to
Yeah,
build muscle.
yeah. This morning was the oh God Almighty. This morning was the crossbar with the big bars where you bring it out to 90 degrees and then
Mhm.
start doing the reps.
The Hercules.
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
So I did 20 pounds of those, 15 reps a piece on each arm, and then the second thing on that was the arm curls. It was no, it was yeah, it was coming up, come up. No, well, there was five stations, and everyone I went from 20 pounds to 15 pounds to 20 pounds to 20 pounds and then 30 pounds. When I was trying to do that, and I
Or
was like, oh my
drop set.
God, I couldn't do it. It just you can't. I couldn't do it. I didn't realize how weak I was. Chris Woolley, his little wife, and I mean little because I think she's like 5 foot or less, and she's over there doing a lot more weight than me. So I know I'm gonna get stronger. So I can't wait. He
Well,
said to give me three. He said give me 3 months, and I said okay, I'll give you 3 months.
biggest thing is consistency.
Well, I'm working stuff I ain't never touched a gym in my life other than with you. You know, and that was a joke because I was like, "There's no way I can't." If you do something, I couldn't do it. I mean, if I grabbed a hold of some of your weights that you used to do, you'd pick me off the ground or break my back. So that was like that was useless for me to go to the gym with you. But with Brandon can do anything. He's over there doing 80 pounds, you know, left, right. You know, I was like, whatever.
He's also got a couple years on you though. He's been going for a while.
He's been going ever since he was in high school or
Yeah.
getting out of high school, whatever.
Well, I haven't been since I got out of high school.
Yeah, I know.
So
But anyway.
I've done the polar opposite.
But yeah, so working out is going to make it better. The tires made it better. The shocks have made it better. So everything that we've done so far is moving in the right direction. Um, Race wise, I feel like the only thing and I need to get. I talked to at the Big Buck. We got to park beside some people from Kentucky, and he races Suzuki's, and his daughter is on a LTZ like mine, but he's got an LTR rear end. So I talked to Cliff today. Cliff said that he's selling his LTR.
Is he really?
Yes, he's selling it for 30. I think he said 35.
That's not bad. That's about what everyone else is selling theirs
Well,
for.
he's selling it right now, to a guy who's picking it up this weekend, and he's
Jeez.
had a bunch of extra parts. So he's going to check with him to see if he has an extra rear end that we can get. If he can get it for me, then I'll just call Wes up and get that bushing kit to where. And the reason I want to do that is because it takes your LTZ, too many letters. So LTZ and extends it back a couple more inches, so it gives you more stability, and there's no chance of it actually breaking like mine. Mine's aluminum square tubing type deal, and it breaks right there near the welds. So I'm on borrowed time as riding my Suzuki right now.
I mean, if it makes you feel any better, I am on the Honda as well. If you didn't see the pictures from when we took it to Kyle or when you took it off yourself, that ear is shot.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to get a new swing arm for that one.
Well, like I told you, to touch base with Lone Star, and let's see if they're serious about something. Let's get their opinion on what we're getting ready to do, because if I'm gonna buy it, I want to go ahead. I'm gonna get the shocks, and I'm gonna get a set of A arms, and I'm gonna get a rear end, and it's all Lone Star. If I can get all of that through the Lone Star, and hopefully, if they'll help support us a little bit. I mean, I don't care if it's if it's $5. $5 is $5.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I mean, but I want their opinion on it because I need a steering stem, and I'm gonna get the Lone Star handlebar things like you have on your Honda.
I have to replace mine, so I'm gonna have to get one too.
So, but I mean, they probably make bushing kits for that, to where all you got to do is replace the bushings for it.
They may, but I also need to do the steering stem one as well. There's a lot of play up top. I noticed that really bad today as I was riding it. I was coming back this direction, like taking it across the front yard, just trying to get a feel for the shocks now that we have those on them. And it was just the whole thing was felt like I was on a rowing machine, just trying to keep it still.
Well, I can't afford to buy everything all at once
No.
for this new Honda build that we're getting ready to do. So, but if I can work on that and get the shocks, A arms, and everything through Lone Star, if they'll help us, we'll put it on video. We're built. All right. So anybody that don't know, we're actually building a 400EX racing frame. I'm going all out on it. No expense. I feel like Drastic Park over here. But I'm doing it for two reasons. One, for Gracie to race whenever she moves up next year for class, or this coming year in class. This year she can still run the four. She could actually run the 400 in this year as a 15-year-old, and then she would, when she turned 16, then she'd have to move up into our classes, and so then she'll need it. But by that time, she'll be able to ride something with a clutch. So she told me the other night she wanted to stick with the 250. I said, well, if I could get the dab if if I could get my hands on that clutch that everybody's running,
The Recluse,
the Recluse clutch. But the problem of it is they don't make one for a 400 EX
like at all.
at all.
Wow.
So they don't even make one. So I was like, well, that stinks. So because that's like riding the 250, you put it in gear and it don't go nowhere.
It's like centrifugal.
Yeah.
Really.
So they don't make that. So I'm building it for her to race, but as well as me. So when she don't run, I'm gonna run, and I'll have something to run into where I can kick back to Suzuki back for trail riding.
Now, this may be a hot take about the Recluse thing, but I would imagine that's pretty dangerous. The Recluse, like, because a large majority of the stuff that you see wrecks wise is because the bikes are falling downhill like at an extremely fast rate because of
No, it ain't no different. And honestly, it's all right. So you remember your granddaddy's 500 HO?
yeah.
All right. So the rear tires would lock up on you basically if you were going down a hill. They were locked because it was belt driven. It's the same concept with that as a Recluse. You need to have a little bit of gas to make it engage, to sort of brake check or clutch check your system going downhill.
So there's still like engine braking.
Yes,
Okay.
you have to give it a little bit of gas, but that's throttle control. That ain't nothing. That ain't nothing different than anything else you do.
Because I mean, my biggest fear, like in the things
And
that
typically, all you got to do is hit the brake anyway and slide down the darn hill.
right, and like the biggest thing that freaks me out the most is like, say if we're going to Carolina Adventure Road or
Mhm.
whatever, is like if we're going down that big hill, Service Road 18 down
Mhm.
towards the riverbed. That's not a crazy hill by itself. I mean, people make it seem crazy, but like when you're trying to go downhill and I'm like coming down the hill and I just stopped and I'm in second. Let's say I'm in second, and I try and go down to first and I don't hit first, I hit neutral, and I roll down that hill a lot faster than I want to. That's what I imagine the Recluse is like, which is why I've always been like, that's kind of
No,
freaky.
it's not the same. It in theory it is, but it ain't. It's not the same. And it's amazing what neutral does to you on a hill. It makes you feel like you're running 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And it's from 0 to 100 just because you hit neutral. And it's amazing how that works. You're intense, your butt puckers up, everything just goes into like old crap mode real quick. But yeah.
Well, that's what screwed me up most of the time. Like I rolled into a tree, or I can't correct before,
Well, the key to that is knowing what you're doing beforehand.
or at least knowing what gear you're in.
Well, possibly, but my Suzuki, I had to raise my gear shifter up because I noticed at Camp Coker, I'd be running along and I went to shift, or I would going through some bumps.
You'd hit
My
it.
boot would hit it and knock me into neutral, and I was like, crap, because it was so close. So I was like, well,
I don't know why, but I only have this problem racing now. Like that same problem going from first to second. Like I did that in at Big Buck. I was coming through mile marker 3, that tight wood section as you're heading towards where the edge of the property is, and I kid you not, whenever we got to that corner where that like deep hole is and there's danger signs, I was in first there to go through that little uphill section, the little whatever you want to call it. And as soon as I hit that first stretch, I tried to pop it into second, and I just tapped it, and it just went straight into neutral, and then I just slammed it into second because I was like, Jesus, go.
yeah, it happens so quick. And the boots are well, look, the whole key to racing is upgrade and don't go cheap, because cheap is not necessarily better.
No,
The
not in
boots
every
that
case.
we bought them just to get a starter. I mean, you can buy some of these what's that, all-star boots that they have now that you see the Hayden Deegan and all them running right
I'm
now.
not sure.
If you see them walking, it's like they're walking normal. I mean, there's very little stiffness in them, and their ankles move so much easier. Like they can shift a lot better. So, and ours is like stiff as a darn board.
It's like you're trying to shift with a peg leg.
Yeah. So, I mean, but that's the difference from a $200 pair of boots versus a $600 pair of boots.
Wow, that's also like
That's 4 paychecks for me. So,
yeah, that's like 20
I mean,
sponsors
if at
versus
this point in time, I'd like. I mean, if I had $600 to waste, I'd buy more camera equipment. But
well,
yeah,
yeah, because I mean that in turn would make more money, but it just takes time.
everything takes time and money. Unfortunately.
There's the two assets you never have enough of.
Yeah, that's for darn sure. Look at what we're sitting in. Every time I turn around, I'm dropping money into this thing, left, right, and sideways. But
It's nice.
eventually,
But I, you know, I never would have. I never thought I would appreciate the basic commodity of being able to flush a toilet. Not gonna lie, until here recently,
I ain't lying.
and there's not a foot pedal there either, and I can actually sit down and it not shift.
And there's enough room.
Yeah, there's enough room there.
Yeah. I mean, thank God we got a camper, but darn, I can't wait to get my house started.
It got old quick.
And the downside to it is, well, I'm going to be racing even more trying to build that one because we're going to go to Mid-East and start working on some Mid-East races.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be fun though. We get an
Well,
actual chance to
they're
tango
not,
with
they're
people
not
like us.
they're not as, there might be hills in Union and Lawrence because they're up there near to each other because it's up in the hills
Mm.
like Big Buck, but there's nothing, I don't see any video on it that's that bad. I mean, I really don't.
A large majority of the issues is it's tight.
That's what I hear, but I mean, I don't know what tight is. I mean, if Brandon's running through it with a 4x4 at 60 miles an hour, I can only imagine if he can do it, we can do it.
I I said the same thing until I saw him pass me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Watching him pass us is like watching a tank mow through a field of trees. Like it's one thing to say you can do it, but then it's the next time to watch him fly past you like you're sitting still. Well, every time he's passed me, I have been sitting still because I don't feel like getting hit by something like that.
No. Mountaineer racing, I was in his way, and I thought he was going to hit me.
I was in his way at Camp Coker. After I finally got unhigh-sided from the two places I got stuck at, he almost took my back fender off as I was trying to get off the track as quickly as possible.
There ain't no stop. I mean, it's nonstop. Either move or go, or you gonna get moved. I mean, but that's the way it goes. That's why I'm always constantly looking over my shoulder when I hear exhaust because I don't know who it is,
Well, I mean,
and I don't really care. But I mean, I'm trying to. And that was the other thing that I've learned at Big Buck. It don't matter who it is. Just move over, let them go, and then look over your shoulder real quick, make sure it's clear, and go. And don't wait. Don't sit there and wait on everybody and their brother to come.
Yeah.
Just take off and go.
and that was what killed me the most is when just as soon as you passed, I looked over my shoulder and saw that other guy.
Mhm.
I should have just pulled out in front of him and haul-tailed after you.
Well, I mean, all right. So, Mountaineer race up there was one track, one way on a lot of things.
There's not many places you can get off.
No, and even though I mean I took my time, just enjoying the ride. Um, I really got in the way there more so than I ever have anywhere else. But there, it was like a freight train. When you seen one,
It was like
there
10.
was like 10, and they were just rolling. I mean, just choo, 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 just right behind each other, and so that made me more nervous because of the mountains that we were in and the deeper ravines that we were right on. So
It's either roll up the side of the hill on this side or go off it on that
yes.
side.
So now, Camp Coker was that way last year for me.
Yeah,
Because
those ruts were bad. If you pulled off, you couldn't get back in them.
yeah, and some of the places that you got caught up on the backside of it was tight. I mean, you literally ran off into the woods, waiting on people to ride by you. So, but Big Buck, I think I learned a lot to where I don't think I'll have that problem. If I push a little harder, you won't be in that much traffic.
Right. You stay ahead of the rotation.
Yes, you'll stay in the midst of it.
Also, if you're moving back up to the 50-year-old class, you won't be getting a large portion of traffic.
Crap.
Well, except for like the women professionals and Brandon's class, there's not too many people that run you down.
Brandon caught me on the second on the start of the second lap.
Yeah, but you think those are like 4 tires churning after you the whole time. People like me aren't going to catch up to you.
But in the 50-year-old class, you had 6, 8 classes behind me, and all of those were faster because they're all on 450s, and they were. It's like I was in nonstop traffic the entire time.
Oh, you're talking about people running you down
Running,
like off rip.
yeah,
Oh,
just out of the blue. I mean, they were just like I said. If I'd have pushed myself like I did at Big Buck,
it wouldn't have been the same.
it probably would not have been the same.
I think that's what makes me the most worried about thinking about moving up, like to where Andrew was at, like the 19C class, is because I'll have everyone else that normally passes me periodically throughout a race chewing on my back bumper the entire time.
But you have to go into it with the mindset of roll with it, go with it. You got to push yourself a little harder.
Well, by the time I finally get to another race, I'll have the 450 done, and if I
Mm-hmm.
don't push it then all I said the entire time of building that thing was just a lie.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, you know,
Well, that's why we're trying to get you to ride it now, so you work out the kinks before we actually get it involved in a mid east race, because that's where we're gonna run it. We're gonna run
yeah.
it at mid east.
Well, we're gonna have to. There's no other races in this area.
And we've gotten everything. We've gotten everything worked out of it that I know of. We got all the body plates on it, skid plates on it, the gear holders. I've done all the modifications that I can do to it, that I know to do to it, other than the shocks that's on it. The shocks that's on it needs to be sent off.
Revalved, yeah.
Yeah, they got one of them. One of them is definitely leaking, but it will get us through a ride or out here, and then it, because I wanted you to see the difference. So eventually, we can send those off, put the other ones back on, send them off, and when they come back, they'll be right. And there's a definite difference in the front end on shocks.
Have you ridden it since?
No, I hadn't had a chance yet, but you've rode it twice. Well, once really today.
I've had it about 4 times
Mm-hmm.
since we talked about it. A large majority of it is just me putting a cow back in the pen, but you
Yeah.
know, whenever I take it out, I sprinting across the field, get a feel for it.
Yeah, so we got the gas tank fixed. We got everything fixed on it that I know of.
Today was the first time that I got an opportunity to get it up to like towards fourth gear. Well, as I was coming back down the driveway this direction, I had it in fourth gear. I was trying to get a feel for third, see how long it is this time. And honestly, I snapped through that pretty quick. So I think that if I can get in a comfortable rhythm, I can stay out of first.
Well, 90% of the time that we're riding, we're not in. We're only in first and second, or second and third. Camp Coker is probably one of the fastest tracks that we run, in the GNCC around here, because there's a large majority of it that's wide open
Yeah,
fields.
part of it's open field.
Yes, and you can air it out there, but everywhere else is in the trees. I mean,
Only in the trees.
yeah, so it's not that bad anywhere else. I mean, typically you lucky if you even make third gear, or if you're in third gear, you're you're motoring, you're pro status. I mean, you know what I mean. You're moving, because that's all they do. I don't even know if they even hit fourth, but they do it. They do it Camp Coker, and I know they do it Buckwheat, and I know that they do in other, and like Snowshoe they do, because Snowshoe is, other than Howard's Hole,
It's just a bunch of slopes
it's a bunch of roads
and
that,
then power lines.
and
You see
power
a lot of
lines.
power lines.
So that's a lot of open ground they're covering.
And
I
it's
mean, to
not.
see Walker and Bryson Neal roll through there on theirs. I mean, dude, they're pushing every bit of 70 miles an hour. I mean, they're hauling tail. I mean, that's the fastest track that I know of, is at Snowshoe. But Buckwheat's pretty quick. I mean, they look like they're hauling tail at Buckwheat. Now the rest of them, I don't know. Is the Iron Man the one that's in Indiana? Is it fast?
I don't think so. I think it's more hills because like that's the track that they run.
They run twice.
Yeah, but they run the motocross track through there too. That's
Yep.
that same one.
Yep.
But like from what I've seen highlights wise, it's mostly like hills. It's not, and this is gonna be stupid. And honestly, I ain't got it. I ain't got an idea what I'm talking about. But it doesn't look difficult. Like if you've watched any of the first person videos on it,
They don't. The only thing that's bad about
Is the
snowshoe is Howard's Hole. So
I think
and the
the
hills, the pro hill is pretty rough at Indiana. Is what them guys were telling us.
well, if you hit
But
it wrong, you plane off the
but
top of it.
yeah, they said that the Big Buck Hill was worse than all of them.
Well, that's because you have that giant rock face in the center of it,
Yeah,
and
and there's 3 paths.
that's what's unpredictable about it is you hit that lip and you don't know where the bike's going to be jostled to, and you
Yep.
kind of have to correct as quickly as possible before you hit the
And
ground.
once you commit,
It's done.
if somebody ahead of you stumps their toe or turns sideways, you either landing on top of them or rolling over them.
Once you pass that grove of trees at the bottom, there's no turning back.
No, it's 100% commitment.
Now, I have been seeing more people go off the side towards where the spectators used to stand,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that that's pretty good. We got a good picture for the thumbnail of Walker Fowler doing a wheelie up that, which turned out really well. And I've watched a couple people do almost like a kickflip, going off that big root section where they'd bounce off the tree and then like kick off that and somehow make it up to the top of the hill. Um, but honestly, that's just a level of experience that comes from constantly running, constantly riding.
Well,
You're talking about people that their 9 to 5 is that.
oh, that's all they do.
They've got enough sponsors and they've got enough backing that they
Mhm.
don't have to worry about that.
Yep.
Whereas people like us that don't have the budget or the time, we just go out there and
Have
do our
fun.
best. Yeah, try and
have
do our
fun.
best.
Yep. Have fun and enjoy it.
Get our teeth kicked in, then pack up the trailer later.
Well, I mean, it's not that bad, but I mean, it's bad enough. I mean, it is. I mean, it's not. It's not the week. I mean, it's not the worst thing we've ever
No,
done.
the weekend as a whole is a great experience. I love being out there with everybody, talking and meeting people.
I enjoy going to GNCC races because it's like being at a NASCAR race and you're actually being a part of it. I mean, when you
Yeah.
roll up and you see all those 18 wheelers, all the pros, but 90% of them are nothing but dirt bikes. I mean, and when you got 1,000 dirt bikes and you got 500 four wheelers, you know, it's kind of exciting.
Feel like a kid in a candy shop looking at all the graphics kits.
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, it's an experience, but the only the way I can compare is or yeah, compare it to is would be going to a NASCAR race and going down pit road and seeing all the 18 wheelers and car haulers and seeing all the teams. But I mean, it's nice. You can talk to all the big people, or like, they're just like us.
Yeah, very down to earth.
They are. They're not like NASCAR where you have to fight through a thing to get an autograph or nothing like that. I mean, you can walk up and shake everybody's hand that you want to, and they're just as nice as they can be. I mean,
Right.
so I enjoy going to GNCC. Now, Mid East, I haven't done yet. Mid East is going to feel like riding in the backyard from what I'm seeing because there's a lot more normal ATVs, 4x4s in this race.
But I feel like that would be fun. It's a good change of pace. We kind of stepped off the deep end in our floaties.
Oh, there ain't no ifs ands buts about it. I throwed you when I throwed you into racing of this category, and GNCC. I mean, I never heard of it, and all of a sudden, boom! Hey, Will, if you want to race, here's something that we can do, and size does not matter. I mean, you can be any size you want to be. You can be 500 pounds and ride a four wheeler, and I mean, it doesn't matter. You're the one pushing yourself. So I mean, there's no weight limit on this.
Right.
I mean, the only downside to it is having the 700 Raptor. That was a blow, but
Well, that's the funny part, and that really brings a lot of realization to the phrase that I keep repeating over and over and over again. Like it's not a problem until it's a problem. And honestly, when we bought the Raptor, it was a perfect fit. I could fit on the bike. I had a lot of fun. It had enough power on it. It was something I wasn't used to. But then when you see what you're missing, it's kind of like, oh, that sucks. I didn't even know that existed. You
well,
know?
who figured that we could? I mean, Andrew stepped up to the 19C class and ran the Raptor 700 in it. We were always told that you could only run it in trail riders
Yeah,
class.
that was stupid.
But it does say 201 open. I mean, or 201 plus open or through open. You had to have at least a 201cc and to run in open
I think they
class.
did stuff like that so you could run 2 strokes,
Yeah.
like
So
the 250 and the
yeah,
350.
so they made it an open class. So the majority of this time, y'all could have been running the 19C class a long time ago.
I definitely think it would have been a different experience if I started out in that track or that in that class.
No, it would. You better off. Well, we started out right. We went to the Mountaineer race, which was the
Oh,
craziest thing in
I
my lifetime to
I
ever seen.
definitely wouldn't have done 19C in the Mountaineer race because I would have like died at
At,
that
the,
race.
that first race, yeah, your first race was absolutely crazy, but I mean, it was nerve wracking, um, especially from my standpoint. But yours was probably a little different. But
Well, it was horrible because what happened is I pulled off to let people like the pros go by that I had no idea who they were, and when I pulled off, I got high sided on a giant rock off the side, which I passed that by the way, and I was like, yeah, screw that rock. But like just pulling off to be nice because I didn't want to, I
hmm
was
it was
yeah,
your first race. You were nervous as a cat in a rocking chair factory. I
and
know.
and then it was the same story, the same old same old. I had it in first. I was trying to get out of where I was at,
Yeah.
and as I was trying to get up the hill, I tried to shift into second. I bump
Yeah.
shifted it. It went straight into neutral, rolled back down the hill, throwing me off of it, and I was stuck underneath it.
Mm-hmm.
And the stupidest thing is that in the process of me trying to get it off the rock, down the hill, back up the hill, the people that had passed me on their second lap came back around to their third lap because the same guy that I talked to that was trying to help me out the first time, he just said, "Hey, back it up and then drive out of here," and he booked it. And then, and then when I flipped it and it was on top of me and I couldn't do nothing about it and I was just sitting there with a dead bike on me, he come trotting down the hill and pushed it off of me. He's like, "You all right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I guess so." Like, I don't know what to tell you. But then after that, I got back on it, put it in second, and just floored it, and ended up jumping the track in the process.
Mm-hmm.
It was hilarious because as soon as I hit the other side, my front 2 tires hit with big rocks on that side, almost threw myself off that side, and I was like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, yeah. The dude come walking back up the hill. I shook his hand. I said, thank you. Don't know who he is. As far as I know, it's just Jesus on a four wheeler somewhere out in the middle of nowhere. I ain't never met him again, no matter
Yeah.
what race I gone to.
But yeah, the racing in general has been. I've always been competitive. I've started out in dirt bikes, and then I went to go karts, and would have went into boat racing if Daddy hadn't have flipped and ruined that whole situation for us. Well, for me anyway, but it's probably a good thing. The only thing close to boat racing that I do now is during the bass tournament. That's always fun. So speed don't scare me. It's the sudden stops that do. But and we push the limits all the time with this. But it's fun. I
Well,
enjoyed it.
this definitely is the only type of racing that I can get
Mhm.
into for that reason because
Well,
there's weight limits.
I mean, go kart racing was fun, and I thought about getting a couple go karts later on, and doing that type of deal because you could run super heavy and stuff like that.
Yeah, but apart from that, I would have to like be able to squeeze into a car, and like I
No, no,
might,
no, no. I'm talking about a go kart,
yeah,
not a car.
yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
You
Like
just fall into it.
I could,
There's seats that fit you.
yeah, but if I can't fit, I can't fit.
Oh no, you can fit. I assure you. I've raced against many a big boy.
What
Many a
on
big.
a go kart?
Mm-hmm.
I thought those were like always small.
No, the go karts are, but the seats ain't.
Well, that's like a large. That's like the whole cart, isn't it? The seat.
Well, you'd have to have you one. You'd have to have a seat that'll fit you. But I mean, you could run it. I mean, I've seen a bunch of people run that's bigger than you.
I mean, I think the
You
only
consider yourself big, but there's a lot of people at GNCC that are bigger than us, bigger than you,
well, I mean, it's just I don't know.
and they outrun us.
Of course they do. They got more experience.
No, he just stays on the track. He don't give up.
Well,
That big boy on that 400 EX last at the Mountaineer race
yeah.
that saved your camera from what's his name losing it.
Oh yeah, yeah,
He was in our race. He was
yeah.
in our class,
Well, I mean, I wouldn't.
and he finished.
I didn't give up on that one. That was a medical thing. This recent one, yeah, I gave up on that one. I threw in the towel before I
Mhm.
probably should have. I could have done another lap. I just probably wouldn't have survived it as not as hurt.
That's all right. We'll get there.
But I mean, hey,
but that's the whole reason you go to the Mideast.
right.
Is to try to put more time in, get more seat time that's locally.
Well,
I say locally, it's North and South Carolina versus, we're not going to Pennsylvania, we're not going to Indiana,
we
we're not
couldn't
going
go there
to,
in the first place anyway.
Well, if Brewer side ever tells me that, hey, I'm gonna race the Ironman, then I'm going to Ironman.
Oh yeah.
But other than that, I ain't got no business in Ironman. I mean, it's 14 flipping hours from here.
Well,
pulling a trailer, you got to leave on Thursday to even get there for a good place.
If the ball falls right and I'm able to start doing these like pro promos and recording for people that are younger that want their kids like advertised,
driving a truck is a lot cheaper than it is to pull on a trailer with the four-wheelers.
And they'll end up paying my way because all I have to do at that point is just cover gas in the motel. And if 2 or 3 parents chip in for like a reasonably priced pro promo for a kid, like that honestly would cover my trip. And I'm not talking like a couple $1,000s just to record somebody's kid going in circles. I'm talking about like maybe a couple $100s, and you get about 6 parents in. That's $600, just $100, and then that covers at least the gas, and then the rest that you come out of pocket is just to stay. But the issue is business and drumming up business and getting our name out there, that kind of thing.
And there's a lot of people that recognize us, which blows me away every time we go to a track.
Oh yeah, I still get shell shocked every time every time someone knows who we are. I thought that was Philly because I saw his foiler and he's like around it.
Yeah, but I hadn't seen his face. I knew the foiler, but and the number one and his and the rest of I've seen them, but I never knew him. I mean, every time I've ever seen the man on video was he had a helmet on. I've never seen his face.
Yeah, I didn't see his face before either.
But when he spoke up and it blew me away.
It was funny because we were just walking through and he's like, "Hey, I know you." I was like, "Oh, wait, oh, I know your voice. Yeah, I know who you are." Yeah, because I'd actually watched his race before we showed up.
Yeah,
just to get an idea of what it was
going to be like.
Different way.
Yeah. So I mean, it's amazing, but to see and getting on, and Isaiah is another cool one. Finally,
kid's a nut.
Big Buck. Well, he showed up to a race with us, and he did not crash.
No, he actually placed first.
He actually won the race. So it was amazing to be a part of him actually doing good at a race.
Well, we got to test drive it too. That was the fun part.
Oh yeah, no, that was. He was like, "Get down on it." I was like, "Nah, I'm not doing that. Knowing my luck, I'm gonna put it through the woods. I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna tear up something, and he wouldn't be able to race the next day." And I was like, "No, I'm not doing that. I ain't you and Andrew. Y'all got down on it. I didn't."
I did not get down on it. Now Andrew got down on it, but I came around that corner and I just did a couple putts just to get a feel for the power band, because that's what he wanted me to feel. He wanted me to feel the power band, and honestly, it responds well. It's very snappy for a four-wheeler.
Yeah. So I can't wait.
I think he's got his lowered just a hair though.
Oh, we will.
Now, this was the first time that I did see that they had like a track margin where you couldn't go past, which kind of made me worried. Or well,
are you talking about you had to be under 50 inches?
Yeah, like the
when we rode through that thing. Yeah, at the oh God, what is it called?
The Tech.
Yeah, Tech. I was like, that's new.
Yeah, when you looked over your shoulder at me and I saw those on the ground, I was like, oh God.
And I rolled by and I was like, okay, well, I got 2 inches on this side and 2 inches on that side. I'm good. I was like, because I mean, the tires are wider. The 23s are wider.
Yeah. 100%.
I mean, the tires themselves are wider. So I was like,
I got pretty close, but it wasn't that bad.
Yeah. So as long as you stay within 50 inches, you'll be all right. But Mideast is going to be a different. I'm hoping that one thing is going to make us better at racing. But at least we get to see more track and we get to spend more time doing it.
That is mildly alarming though, because if they're basing all the courses off 50 inches, are they going through just with like a tape measure and just be like, "Yep, looks good."
Well, you got a tree here and a tree over here. Yeah, you got 50 inches through it. You just have to turn it at a sharp angle.
Like most of the dirt bike races, if you watch those, they just like whatever they can throw their handlebars through, they go through kind of thing.
Yeah.
which I couldn't do.
It still blows
It's
me away
baffling.
watching the 4x4 pros. I was like, my
I'm
God,
amazed that they have fenders by the end of the race.
surprised they even come back with anything.
Because if you go through some of the videos and you look at trees on the side, you can just see random pieces of just nothing but bark,
Mm-hmm.
like just missing, like a
Mm-hmm.
chunk gone,
Yeah,
and it's just from someone plastering it as
yeah.
they're coming through.
I mean, if nobody's ever heard it or knows what we're talking about, check out 784 Brandon Fraser, Philly S
It's
S
LS1.
yeah LS1. Check out them, and you'll see what we're talking about. I mean, it's amazing to see how they take them 1,000-pound machines and roll through.
I take a stick of butter and just rub it on the fenders before I go race somewhere.
I ain't lying. I'd paint that joker yellow and put butter all over it just to make it look like an ear of corn.
We're gonna.
Because if you hit a tree, I swear you're gonna crap some corn. I promise you.
Well, Brandon's handlebars were tucked after his last wreck.
Yeah, but he wrecked it. I mean,
From what he
did
said,
it twice.
like he rolled it,
He rolled it twice
which
and still finished third.
yeah, well, more power to him. Not I. I would have clipped that tree and called it. As soon as I got back to the trailer,
When my handlebars are screwed up, I'm stopping.
I can barely drive without my handlebars being messed up. I couldn't imagine with my handlebars messed up. That'd be horrible.
I had one close call at Big Buck, and it was in the open run session. Just as soon as I took the white flag, I was trying to, because I had people behind me, but I mean, and I pulled over and let them go by, and then I got right behind them and took off, and you could still hear people coming, but it was actually the people going through the other section, going through the woods there, and I hit the gas, and I looked over my shoulder just to double check. And with a helmet on, you have to physically turn your head almost backwards. So when I turned that far back, I turned the wheel, and I was going over a jump at the same time, and it kicked me sideways when I come off the jump, and I liked it. It was by the grace of God that I didn't roll that forward. It made me nervous. But I mean, because I was hauling tail. I mean, because I had just got down on it hard to run, was on my way back around the trailer where you gave me gas. And I was like, my God, I just about lost it then. And I started to stop, and I said, no, white flag. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. And then I regretted doing it. I regretted doing it all week long. But it was fun, though. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Well, we talked for an hour, which is a lot more than I thought we were going to. Not gonna lie, because all we did were just talking about your race and my race.
Well, and races in general.
Yeah. We got a big event tomorrow. Well, I do. For a wedding to record, so we might want to go ahead and call it here. If that's okay with you, unless there's anything else you thought of.
I don't know what else did we. I mean, there's a lot of stuff we could talk about. I mean, there's so much stuff that we've done on the next build and everything coming up that we've touched base on, but there's so much that we could talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, in general, but I think we covered a lot of the races that we've been in here lately since last year, since you started the podcast, the Mountaineer race, and all of that. The only thing we have not talked about was the rides and stuff that we were able to actually do. Now I can't collaborate about the Brewers when y'all rode with the Brewers because I opted out of that. Tyrese opted out of that. But it was
mom was there, so that made more sense.
So I mean, I hung out with her for a while. Got to ride with him on the drag strip, but other than that, that's about all.
Well, honestly, you wouldn't have seen him for too long on the drag strip. Boy's cooking.
Oh, I ain't lying.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I guess that's your Big Buck debut, or your first Big Buck debut,
Yes.
2024.
Been there 3 times and finally got a chance to race, which is cool.
Well, I'm glad we gave that video its final cut because it definitely was well deserved by all means.
Well, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Big Buck. I enjoy going every year. I mean, I enjoyed watching Gracie race. I enjoy watching you and Andrew race. I don't care if I'm racing or if I'm sitting in the pits, but it's fun. I enjoy the experience of just
It's the
having
atmosphere behind it.
everything. And it
Yeah.
makes it even better when the motocross starts. Like they hold a bunch of events where you can actually go watch the motocross race. You know, the nighttime races.
For like Deegan and all of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where the AM the big boys run motocross. So I mean, it's a lot of fun. I do enjoy going to the races. I'm kind of curious to see how bad it's going to be with the middies because we're stepping down. We're like going from uh, NASCAR to a late model. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean the horsepower's still there, but okay, tracks ain't as exciting. So we'll see how that goes.
I think there'll be some hidden gems in there though, from
Uh,
what I've seen.
I think so because I remember hearing Brandon because he runs some of the Mid East racing to do some testing, and one thing that he said that he enjoys about the Mid East versus the GNCC is you get to do a site lap.
Oh
So
yeah, I forgot
that's
about that.
that's going to be interesting
Yeah, because you
because yeah, GNCC you can walk the track, you can ride a bicycle on the track,
but you can't run it.
but you can't take the bike and ride the track. So right before a race, you as you line up in your class, and each class gets to take a site lap, which is going to be interesting.
That's gonna be cool because that takes my entire first lap strategy and just bumps it up to my first official lap. You know,
Yes.
yeah, that'll be cool.
So I'm looking for if that happens. I'm looking forward to that.
Watch us get into it and they change the rules.
Of
that'd be
course.
that'd be some type of bullcrap on that one.
And I don't know if it's and I honestly I don't know if it's every race or if it's just
Just
a few
certain.
that they actually do it on. But I'm curious to find out.
It makes sense if they did like a bunch of changes or if there's a dangerous spot that people were worried about. But for every race would be nice. That'd be very nice. Take a nice lap on a mountaineer race would be kind of cool because you could have strategically gone through the
Heck
rock
no,
garden.
you can't do that.
You would have
Now,
destroyed
all
your
right,
bike.
so I do know the biggest difference between Mid East and GNCC. GNCC is anywhere from the smallest track that they have is 10 miles, 10 to 12 miles. That's it. The Mid East is 6 miles, 5 or 6 miles of track.
It's like half.
Oh, it's half, but you run twice as many laps. I mean,
Why? Yeah.
they run 6 and 7 laps, where Mid East you only run 4. So if you tried, could you imagine going through the Mountaineer race and doing a site lap for 17 flipping classes?
You'd be there all day.
You'd be there. You'd be just a as a just a, and trying to take it nice and easy through all of them, and all the way around the track.
It'd take you forever.
17. It take you 45 minutes to run that as a site lap. Not to mention all the idiots that's going to try to push it and get hurt in the process. I mean, you can't tell them boys to slow down.
No, no.
I mean, but Mid East is, I mean, 5 miles or 6 miles it wouldn't take you that long.
No, not
It'd
not
probably
at a
take you 20
reasonable
minutes.
speed. Yeah,
Probably take you about 20 minutes to run, to take a quick site lap. So I'm curious to see if that happens.
that'd be cool. Maybe they probably plan it for a different day or something.
No, it's on a Saturday.
It's on the same day.
They run most of the time. They run the same weekends that we run GNCC.
Yeah, but for like the site lap, like you have to show up early
No,
to
no,
do
no,
that.
no. They do that right before start.
Oh,
You line up at the starting line,
and
and
then
then
you
you
go
do a
through it.
side lap, and then you come back to your starting position.
Holy cow! Yeah, no, that I figured that'd take too much time altogether.
Maybe, but we'll see. I can't wait. I'm curious.
Yeah, 100%. There's yeah, that's definitely going to be an interesting experience. So
Well, Mid East in general is going to be interesting it's by itself, but I mean for other categories other than just that, because it's definitely GNCC's elite of the elite. Mid East is going to be like I said. There ain't no other way to compare it other than NASCAR to late model stock at Florence Motor Speedway. I mean, you know what I mean. I mean,
Talent's there, but it's hard to
talent's
find.
there, but money's not,
Yeah.
and there's a difference.
Mm.
At NASCAR, there's
You got to
police
earn it.
everywhere, and you ain't getting the only people that's gonna fight is the actual drivers themselves. At Florence Motor Speedway, it's you're liable to fight in the freaking parking lot when you're trying to get in or out.
We'll probably see more stuff like that there.
God, I hope not. If it is, I won't go back. I mean, because the worst thing I want to do is compete against somebody drinking.
Well,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
I mean, there's drinking at Big Buck or at the GNCC racing, but it's a higher. I'm not gonna say. I shouldn't say that. I don't want to sound rude, but they're you got the same category of people. Then you have people that really just go for the fun.
I mean, there's stupid people everywhere. You can't get around that. Like there was somebody at the hill climb at Big Buck that dude was stepping in the way, doing like, well, what people would classify as inappropriate gestures to some of the people that were running the pro race. I mean, that guy was obviously drunk, and he wasn't being disgruntled to a degree, but he was, because there's younger people out there.
Mm-hmm.
There's people you need to be careful of, like not doing inappropriate things in front of them. But
But fights break out there just as much anywhere else. But
and it's over stupid stuff too. People want to be right
well,
anywhere you go.
the problem of it is when you start throwing alcohol into the mix, everybody feels like they're 10 foot tall and bulletproof.
It's like throwing diesel on a fire.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it once it gets hot enough, everything's gonna flare up, and it's just it makes it for a sad event. But
Oh yeah, 100%.
not saying if you drink on your own, but you got to be responsible for what you're doing.
Right.
I mean, because you're only going to be held accountable for what you're. If you do something inappropriate, and somebody knocks your teeth out, and you wake up the next morning and want to know what happened to your front teeth, somebody will show it to you on video. Because you can't blow your nose wrong at any of these places without somebody being on camera.
Yeah, and honestly, the police don't really do anything because
No, but you did see this time at Big Buck that there was a lot more police involvement.
there,
There was 6 cops at the Big Hill,
whereas there was only 2 last year.
and that's when the fight broke out.
Yeah, they're at the top. They came down the hill.
Yeah,
But dude didn't do anything because he knew that as soon as he put his word or his 2 cents in, people around him would swarm.
yeah.
And honestly, there's only but so many things
Yeah,
you could do
but
to stop
because
an
of that
issue
fight
like that.
last year,
There was more.
there
people
was
there.
more cops there this year. I mean, there were 6 head of cops there.
Most of them were undercover too. You couldn't tell.
Oh no, they had their vest on. They were marked.
Now I saw those 2, but the rest I didn't see.
The
other
ones
4?
that were sitting on the side by side on the back side of the hill, they were just waiting to pick people up and take them off on side by side.
Those were.
Mm-hmm. Those were cops.
Oh.
Yeah, because they had their badges on their hips and their guns underneath their stuff.
Wow.
So I mean, they were sitting there. I mean, they were. But that's the whole key to it. I mean, it don't take but one bad time, and that one incident that got
ruins
caught,
it for the margin.
that got caught on camera.
Yeah.
On everybody's camera. Here we
Right.
go. So, not to mention all the illegal substances that were there. I'm not saying alcohol. I'm not. It was all the other left-handed cigarettes that everybody was burning. It don't matter where you go, that happens. You can't even go to McDonald's without smelling skunk weed around here or anywhere else. But it's common at the racetracks. I don't care if you go to Florence Motor Speedway, you can still smell it. I mean, you can't hide the smell.
No.
So, it ain't like we live in Arizona where there's skunks everywhere.
Or Colorado, where it's legal.
Well, yeah. You could definitely get away with it in some of these places that actually have skunks. Because it does stink. But anyway. All right. Are we done?
Yeah. The next couple of podcasts we're gonna be doing is I'm gonna bring the guy that participated with our last video at Florence Motor Speedway. I want to get his take on the day. We're trying to get him more incorporated and stuff like this, so I want to see what his thoughts are, what he enjoyed about that, and moving forward, what we can do to have more fun like that. We're going to talk about our collaborations. I'm glad you brought up Tyrese because we want to talk about him. I think Andrew and I are going to try and talk with him or talk about him, the collaboration that we did with him.
Yeah, on your 21st birthday.
Yeah, that was a fun experience.
That was almost a year ago.
Yeah.
Almost.
Talk about the Brewers, the East Tennessee Trail Riders. Those two collaborations were more recent. We can talk about those
Now,
too.
I did get the chance to ride with Clifford and them.
Those guys were fun.
Those were, and I'm sorry that what's his Nathan had that deal with his spoiler, but because we had more time we were going to hit more trails other than that one that we started out on, and then he messed up his spoiler, so we were heading around to the other ones because that new trail,
44, I think.
Yeah, 44, that was fun.
Well, then Andrew blew his tire on that one too, so it didn't really make a difference.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just saying in general, if we hadn't wasted so much time on Trail 1 around there, it wouldn't have. I mean, wish we had fun, but it's all about riding.
Well, I figured they would have fun since that's what they're used to, that kind of thing.
Well, they did, and they showed us how to ride up stuff that I'm not going up. I can't even.
For darn sure.
I don't even know how they do it. I don't have the wide enough stance to try to even think about that. Because I did not know that Cliff rolled his four-wheeler.
Yeah, I rewatched that video and I had no idea about that either. He had it spilled over.
I didn't. I knew you were helping them with the videos, and it didn't dawn on me to subscribe. So I looked them up, and then I hit the subscribe button yesterday, 2 days ago. So I subscribed to him, and I was sitting there watching the video, and I was like, he was riding through that thing, and just all of a sudden just rolled it over, and I was like, and he stood up and looked around, and I was like, where were all of us?
You had climbed the hill. Me and Andrew were standing at the base of it. Nathan was doing laps up and down it. And then the funniest thing was he didn't even get to the hill, and he rolled it. And then he proceeded to get to the hill, make us all look like chumps going up the hill. And then that was what he rolled over on.
And I was sitting there, I was like, where? I mean, where were? But I mean, when he stood up, he looked around, and I was like, I could hear y'all in the back, us in the background.
We were all standing at the base of that
hill,
hill,
but it was just on the other side of the hill to where you couldn't physically see all of us.
He got to that part where Andrew almost rolled his folder over at.
But it tripped me out. I was like, that little thing it rolled him over, and I was like, okay. And then 5 minutes after he got rolling, he was up and down the darn hills, and I was like, that little thing just tipped my man over, and and now he's going up and down these things like it's a piece of freaking cake. I mean, and I wouldn't even attempted that, and I didn't attempt it. I went around a different way and come up, but it blew me away. I was like, when did he do that? I mean, because I was like, I did not see. And then when he got up to y'all at the base of the hill, I remembered that clicked, part. Yeah. I was like, but darn.
It would have been different if he said something, because if he'd have said something, we would all we're gone over there. But I mean, it's just crazy to think that's how people get hurt. You know,
just that quick, just that fast.
You're by yourself. You roll over. You get pinned. Can't say nothing, and that's how people get hurt. Not the crazy stuff. No, because the crazy stuff you prepare for. It's the unpredictable.
It's the everything else that he rode up. He prepared for, but he didn't prepare for that little ditch.
No.
And I mean, that was a little ditch compared to the crap that they were running up and down.
And like I said before, Andrew almost threw himself off when we tried to prepare for the Brewers too. He did the same darn thing. I remember because he pulled up to it and he stopped. Bike stopped. He's like, just testing out the skid plate, nonchalant, and then drove over it. Mm-hmm. But that was crazy.
But yeah, those are some good people. So I can't wait.
Yeah, so this is Gurr's race, Big Buck 2024 with its final cut officially.
Yes. Done. Stop before we get into something else.
See you next time.
Later.